We're talking to Mr. Sam Latham, publisher of the Ebony Journal and the Onyx magazine. And of course, Mr. Latham, when we left off, we were talking about some of the problems that occurred during the 1980s and the 90s. And so let's pick up there and allow you to expand upon some of those ideas.
Well, Dr. Haney, I think that there's a tie-in, economics, politics, the whole works. In the late 80s, I think the economy did well under President Reagan. He finally got people's faith back into the business cycle. Consumer spending increased and a lot of new companies came online. That lasted until probably the mid-90s. There was really a sincere effort to be more affirmative in the city and I think in the country. People were looking for ways that they could partnership with African Americans in a lot of respects. So that was a good time. You had companies born like Access Med Plus, who went on to become a $600 million company, hired about 400 African American people to work for them. Then you had Phoenix Healthcare, Sam Howard, who also owned an FM radio station. So those companies flourished along with a lot of other companies in the world, in the city. You had Meharry, who at one time had about 1,800 employees. Something happened mid-90s, and I think it could tie back to Newt Gingrich and the conservative effort to do away with affirmative action, to do away with set-asides and some of the other things.
And the climate. And all those things that they call.
Yes. So not only in the legal arena, but I think people picked up on it. Other business people decided they didn't have to be. Then deregulation occurred, where there was little or no government control over businesses, over certain industries in business. So all of that started having an effect. So it seems like we just slept through an era where we lost, you know, how could Meharry lose over 1,000 employees? You know, their revenue base shrink. So it affected a lot. Fisk University, I think, in the 70s up until the 80s when they started having some problems, there were probably 1,000 to 1,100 students there. And now I understand there's somewhere between 750 and 800. Tennessee State enrollment has remained flat. So all of our major industries and economic, I guess, institutions, they've all declined, and we've slept through it. It's almost like nobody saw it coming, nobody talked about it. It just happened. So it's not unusual to see a company go out of business. It's almost like, okay, you know, they were here for a while.
Almost naturally expected.
Almost naturally expected. So I think what's needed now, you know, in terms of to try to get back, I believe that we have to have more faith in one another.
Okay, good.
Because there's no shortage of money in terms of a revenue base. If we looked at our natural market, that is, you know, we're black, look at the black market. After all, you know, Japanese Americans do a lot of business with their own race. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, good.
But we don't do that. We have $3.7 billion of spending power, but we spend $400 million a year buying groceries, no supermarket. We spend over $280 million a year buying cars. It's fortunate that we do